What up, everybody? It's Colton Nerdy Core, back again with another video. This video is going to be my Blu-ray collection. My Blu-rays are definitely the more prevalent movie collecting format I use at the moment. I prefer Blu-rays over DVDs at the moment. I just like how they look and the quality of the movie compared to a DVD. And also, I don't want to make the step to the 4K Blu-rays right now because of how expensive they are for like a single movie. It's insane. So this will be from, again, I'm not a huge movie buff in terms of knowing the terminology and all that stuff. So I'll just go through my collection, talk about the ones I like, why I like them, a little bit about each movie. My collection's a mix of all like steelbooks, regular editions, and collections. So here we go. So the first movie I got is the Alien Quadrilogy. This movie contains Aliens, and 3 and 4. In my opinion, definitely the first one's the best. I think it's one, they're all like kind of horror movies, they're all old school horror movies, sci-fi setting. One is definitely the scariest in terms of like a horror movie. None of the movies are actually scary, it's just, I think one gets the vibe and the feeling done the best. So next is American Hustle. This is a movie that definitely takes getting all the way to the end to understand fully what you just watched. It's definitely a good movie, very well acted. I especially liked Jennifer Lawrence's role as the she kind of plays like a wild, I think she's a drug addict or alcoholic, I'm not sure. The husband to one of the main characters. She plays really well. Next is American Pie. So this one comes with a sleeve. It just kind of has like a buffed out version of the pictures and stuff like that. So American Pie is one of my favorite comedies in terms of like a series. 1, 2, and I actually do like American Wedding. A lot of people don't like American Wedding and Reunion. Reunion's not that good. Wedding I actually didn't mind. But definitely 1 and 2 are the best. They're definitely very crude comedies, more like a coming of age kind of college setting, but in terms of like a very sexualized comedy. It's really funny. It's crude humor, but crude humor is good. So next is American Sniper. So this is a movie with Bradley Cooper, plays a sniper. It's based off of I forget the dude's name. Like it's based off of an in real life story. The guy died. So it basically goes through his time. I think it's Iraq, and mixed with his time at home dealing with the syndromes of PTSD. So it's a pretty dark story in terms of that, but it's a really good story and well done. So next is Argo. This is a movie that's pretty decent. It's worth a watch at least. It's about reporters. I can't remember exactly where it is. I think somewhere in the Middle East. And then there's like these riots or something around, and they all they're killing everybody in the office or whatever, so they escape through like pretending to be movie producers. So next is Avatar. This is like the collector's edition. It's the extended edition. The sleeve is a pain in the ass to get out. Alright, here we go. So it basically looks like this on the inside. Has all of this, and then this pops out into like a book type thing. So this is definitely a good movie. I thought it was a little overhyped, honestly, for my opinion. It was pretty good. Like, I enjoyed watching it. The visuals were amazing. And the story was okay. It felt a little too long for what they covered in the actual movie. So next is Avengers. This is an awesome superhero movie, probably one of my favorites, actually. I like how they blended all the characters together, and it has one of my favorite, which is Captain America. I felt like it wasn't busy. Like, a lot of these, like, combination movies with heroes, they kind of just, like, force characters in, and it doesn't feel, like, natural or that they work well together. I feel like, at least the first Avengers movie, they did it really well. So next is Batman vs. Superman. This is one of the ones I haven't watched. I think there's 3 in total in my collection that I haven't watched yet. So this one just has a sleeve. I have the collector edition like lunchbox for this, and I hope to watch this soon actually. So next is Battle Royale. So for those of you who don't know, this is kind of like OG Hunger Games. This is kind of the first one that did the type of story, if I'm not mistaken. I know it's before the Hunger Games at least. So this is a Japanese movie. It follows similar plot to the Hunger Games, but it's more like it's like they pretend it to be a school trip, then they get gassed to like knockout type thing, and then they get like these bomb collars strapped to their necks, and then they're basically told only one of you lives, and if you guys don't kill each other by the time 2 days is up, all the collars go off and they all die. So it's basically going through that scenario. It's really cool, really gory. Definitely a good movie. So next is Beowulf. This is one when I first I thought like I don't know if it's CGI or whatever. It looks really off slightly. And then I rewatched it and I just kind of get it, like the art style of the movie. It was pretty good. It's a decent story. I don't know if it's based off anything, like a folklore or something like that, but it was pretty good. So next is the Bourne Classified Collection. So this is basically... well, these things are so annoying to get out sometimes. It has like a fold-out page of each movie. So, and then it has a slot for the new one, which just has like a cardboard one. Has some bonuses. It's pretty cool. I definitely love the Bourne movies. 1 to 3 are the best. The fourth one's okay. I don't hate it as much as other people, but definitely you gotta have Jason Bourne in a Jason Bourne movie. So, I still haven't seen the new one though. Braveheart. This is a classic Mel Gibson movie. Basically, this movie is like, I would say the first third I don't even recommend watching because I don't like it. It's basically just a love story that basically starts off the conflict of the movie, so you get some context as to why he's fighting, and then basically after that, after the 1/3 is really cool like action movie with some really good story writing in it. All right, so next we got is Brotherhoods of Blades. This is one I bought off a whim. I think it's Chinese, if I'm not mistaken. Sorry if I'm wrong. But it's like a martial arts, super over-the-top action movie type thing. It's pretty cheesy, but it has a pretty good story, actually. It's kind of like a mix of it has like the forbidden love story with kind of like these three are all brothers and they all have like conflicts that they work with each other to get through type thing. It's pretty interesting. So next is A Christmas Story. This is my first steelbook I ever bought. I think it's really cool. The inside kind of looks like has all the classic triple dog Daria. This movie is amazing. This is, in my opinion, the best Christmas movie of all time. This is definitely a family favorite of mine. So next is one that the sleeves kind of messed up for, but it was really cool. You can see it kind of like does the clapping. Is The Conjuring. So this is a horror movie. This is probably, out of like the modern ones, this is probably the best I've seen. They get the horror right. It's actually scary. This is one of the only like horror movies that's like, when I watched it, it was actually pretty scary throughout the whole movie. They just get the vibe, and the actors do a really good job with it. These two back here, they play kind of like I don't know, they're like one's, I think she's a medium, and she just kind of helps out with like finding, he's kind of like a ghost hunter type thing. But those two carry the movie, and they're really good, and I enjoy whenever they're in any of these movies. I think they're also in some of the Annabelle movies, if I'm not mistaken. So next is Contagion. This is an okay movie. This is just a basic like virus, end of the world type movie. In my opinion, this one is pretty slow for like half the movie and picks up at the end. The end was actually pretty interesting. Next is Contraband. I'm into cheesy action. Mark Wahlberg is prime cheesy action. He just plays the typical loudmouth, says a few cheesy one-liners, and then kills some people. So it's a good time. Next are the Death Race movies. So 1 and 2 come in like this combo pack, and then I got 3 separately. I'm pretty sure there's a 4th one coming out. I don't know why. Really, the only one. 1 is a really good movie. If you're into action movies, like over the top action movies, 1 I would highly recommend. 2 and 3 are meh, and they get worse. 2's okay. 3's really not that good. 1 though, I would really recommend. There's a good twist at the end, and it's just high-paced action, and it also gets like the environment and story right, not like the other movies. So next is Django. This is a Quentin Tarantino film, so it basically goes how it kind of is directed in that Quentin Tarantino style. So it's a lot of like over-the-top kind of comedic elements in a serious story type thing. It's very well acted. I really enjoy the story, actually. So next we got is Dredd. Dredd's an awesome movie. Dredd's actually, I think, one of the more underrated movies in terms of like, it's one that everybody who's watched it recommends it as a really good movie. It's just, I feel not enough people talk about it. It's definitely one of the better over-the-top action movies I've seen, like, period. Dredd's really badass. The story is really cool. It has one of the Game of Thrones actors as the main bad guy. She plays Cersei. I can't remember her name off the top of my head. Very bad with actors and actresses. But she plays it really well, and like the environment and like the music and the sound and all that stuff really makes it feel badass when you watch it. So next is Enemy at the Gates. This is a World War II movie. I think it's Russian in terms of like where it's based. I think it was based in Russia. And it's about a reporter, I think, who runs a reporting thing during the war, and kind of makes like this folklore hero type thing. It's an okay movie. I didn't really like the love aspect of it. I definitely would recommend other war movies over it. So next is Fast and Furious 3 Tokyo Drift. I really like the sleeves for these, the Fast and Furious movies, so I want to get them all separately, like without the sleeve. Like, this is just plainish. But with the sleeve, it's really cool with the glowing effect type thing. It's even on the back. 3 is, I think, the best out of the Fast and Furious movies. I just like that it doesn't take itself seriously, and it's just really fun. Alright, so next is Full Metal Jacket. This is definitely, it's either this or Platoon that I would put as my favorite war movie of all time. This movie is really good. So it basically follows this squad of characters you meet throughout the story. It follows them from training, or whatever it is, military school, the military academy, to graduating and then going into the Vietnam War. So it follows the same group of people. And then there's the famous instructor from this movie, very over the top and funny. And then it turns really serious and gets really serious once it comes to like the war aspects. So next, basically go through I have all the seasons of Game of Thrones, so just do a quick go through of them, kind of look at them, and then slide them over. So I got all 7 seasons. Probably just do this, so it's a little easier. So 3, this one I think has the coolest like sleeve in terms of it makes like the dragon and stuff like that. Oh, and I'll show you what these look like on the inside. They all have roughly the same insides. So basically they have like the characters in these fold out things, and then have all the discs kind of thing. So kind of like the Band of Brothers style of box set. They're really cool. I enjoy Game of Thrones a lot. It's probably my favorite TV show. It's like a fantasy, for those of you who don't know about it, most people do. It's kind of like a fantasy mix between like Lord of the Rings and kind of a drama political show where there's a lot of politics in it and a lot of drama, but it's also has the fantasy military and fantasy like fighting aspects of it. So this is the, was it 4th season? This one's just kind of playing with the bird. Or the raven, if you want to get specific of what it is. So next is the 5th season. This is one I think the colors look the coolest on, in terms of, it has a pretty good sleeve too. Then there's season 6. This one has like one of those moving ones. You can kind of see it left to right here. Kind of moves. Pretty good. My favorite seasons are probably the first, fourth, and the newest season. I would say are the best. So that's 7th season. This sleeve gets like scratched up easily. It's it's just clear, so it gets scratched up and picks up all this stuff really easily. It's kind of annoying, but the artwork's really cool on this one. So it says like winter is here. So that was definitely a really good season. If I would recommend any TV show, that would be the one I watch, or South Park. So this came with the newest season. It's like a cartoon, like kind of artwork sketch with voiceover about the history of Game of Thrones. I haven't watched it yet. I just really haven't sat down to watch it yet. I've been watching Looney Tunes. So next is Gangster Squad. It is okay mafia movie. It's pretty good. It's just a fun mafia movie. It's nothing serious. It's kind of Ocean's 11-esque, where they kind of assemble like a team of people with various personalities, and it's kind of comedic in a way to do a certain job type thing. So next is Gone Baby Gone. This is a movie I got for like $5 on like some Boxing Day thing. It was like in the discount rack, but it was actually a really good movie. This is like I would say like a crime thriller type thing. It's all about this baby that gets stolen, and then this guy, he's the main character, is looking for him, for the mother, which is here. And then the twist at the end is probably one of the better twists I've seen in a movie, and it's definitely one of the biggest moral dilemmas I've seen in a movie. So I would definitely give it a watch. So next is Gone Girl. This came with it comes with like a book and stuff, and then I think this is how the only way I've ever seen this movie come. It's a pretty good movie. Definitely one of the scarier movies in terms of I would hate to be this dude type thing. It's not like a horror movie in any way. It's another like crime drama type thing. Alright, so next is Goodbye World. This is basically one of those thriller end of the world type movies. This is based on this group of survivors right here. They basically all go to one of these guys' houses. I think it's this guy's house. And it's all like very self-sustained type thing, and it's all about them living out the apocalypse type thing. The first I would say hour is really good, and it's develops a bunch of plot lines with neighbors and stuff like that. It was actually really interesting. And then the last 30 minutes, it ruins the whole movie. So next is Goodfellas. This is just a very simple, clean steelbook. So it basically just has the guy laying on the back and basically white on the inside. So it just looks clean type thing. This is probably the best mafia movie I've seen. I also haven't seen the Godfather movies all the way through, so this is very in the air type thing, but this movie's amazing. If any of you guys haven't seen it, I would definitely recommend it if you're into the mafia thriller movies. So next is the Harry Potter 8-film collection. I said in my DVD collection I had all of them on Blu-ray. I have them all in this collection, so it comes with all the movies. Harry Potter is probably my favorite movie franchise, basically because I grew up with it. I was probably 10-ish, 11 when the first movie came out, and I was really into it from the start. So basically I've just followed the series throughout its progression and stuff like that, and the movies are amazing. There's none of them that are bad. Out of these, 7 is probably the worst, just because it's just all developing story that happens in 8 type thing. The best ones, I would say, probably 1, 4, and either 3 or the last one, 8. The Goblet of Fire might be my favorite. I really like my favorite part's always learning about the school, so them combining a bunch of schools and the games and stuff like that was definitely the most interesting for me. So next is The History of Violence. This is another one I got for $5. But it was another really good movie. So this is kind of like a crime, mystery, action-ish type movie. It's about this guy who goes into hiding from the mob, and he was living this double life type thing with a family, and then they come back and find out him under his alias, and then it's all about him making sure they don't cause a threat to his family type thing. It's pretty good. So next is Horrible Bosses. I still need to get the second one for this, because I actually really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was just fun. It definitely has an interesting premise. So basically all their bosses are assholes, and they set up a plot to kill all of them. But it basically goes off the deep end, as most comedies do. And it's all just about like how it unfolds. It's pretty funny. So next is The Hobbit. So this is the extended edition. So it comes with all the movies. Has like the ring on the back. Opens up with the map, and then like all the movies slide out like this. These movies are great. I am not part of the Lord of the Rings fans that hate this movie or think, oh, it's nowhere near as good as Lord of the Rings. It's not as good as Lord of the Rings, but it's definitely still a really good series. The reason I like it is because they didn't do the Force Awakens thing where they just relied on a bunch of old assets to get them through the movie. This is like a completely different story, but ties a lot of the stuff into the old movies, so it works really well. Alright, so next is the Indiana Jones Complete Adventures. So this comes with all 4 movies, but 3 you should only watch. The 4th movie's not that good. It's nothing to do with Shia LaBeouf, nothing to do with any of the actors in the movie. It's just not good in terms of the writtenness and the story. It just shouldn't have been made. I would say probably the first one's my favorite, and then 2 and 3 are pretty close, because I really like Short Round from the second one, and then the third one has the father storyline, which is pretty good. So next is John Wick. John Wick is probably the best recent over-the-top action movie series I've seen. Keanu Reeves is badass in this movie. The whole movie just feels badass. His character is awesome. He has like this aura about him that makes him really cool. And the music, the sound, the lighting, how it's filmed and all that gives off this really cool vibe, kind of like Dredd, but in more of like this dude's like untouchable type thing. And it's a really cool, really gory action movie. Definitely recommend it. So next is Kick-Ass 2. This is another one with, I think the correct term is lenticular covers. Correct me if I'm wrong there, but it has a sleeve for it. I think it's just it without the lenticular type thing. This is one of the ones I haven't watched yet. I've heard good things about these series. I think there's 2 in total, and I haven't watched the first one yet, so I want to watch the first one, then I'm going to watch that. Alright, so next is the Kill Bill movies. This is like one of these like basic combo ones that just kind of has like the information on the back. Definitely really good movies. Definitely really over the top action movies, which again, one of my favorite. This is another Quentin Tarantino, so it's kind of that over the top with a serious storyline in there with some comedic elements and over the top writing on top of it. So it's really good. Alright, so next is The Last Rites of Ransom Pride. I got this for $1. This basically tries to do a Quentin Tarantino movie, but isn't a Quentin Tarantino movie. If it didn't try so hard to be a Quentin Tarantino movie, like obviously, I think it would be an actual pretty decent, just kind of stupid fun cowboy movie. She's the main character, and I think her husband dies or something like that, and then she goes through like just going around like killing everybody type thing. It's a fun movie. Again, like I watched that like a couple months ago, and I can't remember the full details of the movie. I just knew it was fun to like put in and watch a bunch of people die, like shoot each other type thing. Alright, so next is a Lego movie. This is honestly probably, in terms of like really modern and recent ones, Probably the best kids movie I've seen. I really like the Lego adaptations of like the games, these movies and stuff like that, with the Batman one as well. So it's very well written, very comedic, has a bunch of characters from a lot of different series and all. Alright, so next is Looney Tunes. This is the Platinum Collection Volume 1. So basically there's a bunch of different collections that cover a bunch of different characters and certain episodes of Looney Tune type thing with all the little comics. So it comes with like a little art book, and it comes with a bunch of different characters. I think this has all the Tasmanian Devil, all the Martian, and all like a lot of the singing ones in this collection. Looney Tunes are awesome. Very good classic cartoon show. One I watched as a kid a lot, so get a little nostalgia from that one. Alright, so next is Looper. So this is basically a movie where this guy is the present version of this guy, and this guy is hunting himself basically, but he doesn't know it's himself. So he basically is hired to kill people by traveling back in time to kill them, so it's easier to kill them. And he's basically given a target of this guy, but it turns out to be himself type thing. And then it's all about them dealing with that situation. So next is Lord of the Rings. I don't have the extended edition for the Lord of the Rings, so it just comes out like this. These are just the regular ones, but honestly, the only one I liked the extended edition for was the third one, because you saw like Aragorn get the undead army and all that stuff. That was really interesting. Other than that, I don't really see a point to it, so I'm fine with just having the regular ones. So next is Matt Damon in The Martian. This is a movie I actually really enjoy, and I've watched it a lot since I got it. It's basically about, if you haven't seen it yet, he gets trapped on Mars after like a space exploration mission goes wrong, and basically he has to survive for a certain amount of days. So it's all about, it's kind of like what's that movie, is Trapped on the Island? Castaway. It's kind of like Castaway, but just on Mars. Alright, so next are the Maze Runner movies. These movies are pretty decent. They're kind of like action thriller movies type thing. The one I would definitely recommend is the first one. The first one I think is actually a pretty good movie. The second one's okay. Kind of just like continues with some of the, you just kind of want to know what happens to the characters in the second movie, to be honest. But the first movie, I really liked and enjoyed the mystery behind the maze and learning about it and stuff like that. I thought that was all pretty interesting. Alright, so next is the Mission Impossible Ultimate Collection. So it's basically a steelbook collection of the first 5 Mission Impossible movies, because there's that new one that just came out, so they're all in like these plastic like containers type thing. I really enjoy the front cover to this. I think it's really cool looking. Mission Impossible, definitely an awesome series, definitely one of the best over the top action movies out there. It's just cool, it's just fun to watch. I saw the new one, same thing, really cool, really fun to watch. The ones I would recommend are the first one, because I think it has the best twist at the ending, and the third and fourth one. 2 I would stay away from. The rest, all of them besides 2 really are really good movies. I didn't really like 2 because of the stupid love story that took up like half the movie, that you kind of just sitting there like, when does this turn into a Mission Impossible movie? So next is Napoleon Dynamite. This is the 10-year edition of it. So this is really cool. You see the Liger on the back here, and it kind of, this is all like fuzzy print type thing. It opens up with the tater tots, the Napoleon, and all that. This is definitely one of the cooler things in my collection, in my opinion, type thing. It's just basically because I really enjoy this movie. This is one of my favorite comedies, and this whole thing and this whole movie case basically summarizes Napoleon Dynamite. It's about a dorky high school kid and his kind of misadventures throughout high school. It's a really good movie. So next is November Man. This is basically a cheesy action movie. It's okay. I would give it a watch. It's definitely worth a watch. Alright, so next is Oblivion. So this is a movie that starts off pretty slow but is interesting. It's not one of those slow that you're like, when does this turn into a movie? It's kind of slow as in like it builds up the movie and kind of like your interest in the world. And then the last half of the movie, it basically flips what you thought and then runs with it in a different story, and it turns into like this cool action movie type thing. It's a pretty good sci-fi movie. All right, so next is the Ocean's movies. So this is 1, 2, and 3. This is the original ones with George Clooney and Brad Pitt. This is basically a funny, kind of cool thriller, bank heist type movie where these guys all play criminals. Besides this guy, because the bad guy in the movie. They all play criminals, and they're all trying to basically make money, and then they end up screwing over some wrong people, and then the following movies follow up how they make the money back type thing. So it's pretty good. So next is Mel Gibson, The Patriot. This is one I watched in school, and then I was like, oh, that was actually pretty decent, so I picked it up. And it's completely historically inaccurate. It's kind of loosely based off of the American Revolution, as in it follows the American Revolution, but it's not accurate at all. But it's just a fun, like, it's super pro-America propaganda type thing, but it's a fun movie. I enjoyed it. So next is Pulp Fiction. This is a really good movie. This is one of those like super cult classic ones that basically anybody who watches movies has seen and also loves type thing. Or I know a lot of people that actually just think it's an okay movie and think it's a little overrated. I'm kind of in the middle where I go, this is a really good movie. I don't think it's overrated, but the incessant, like, this is the best movie of all time is probably a little too high praise for the movie. I would definitely put it probably in my top 20, just not near the top of that. Alright, so next are the Purge movies. Definitely, these are the only two you should watch. If I was to say anything about the Purge, the ones after these are all garbage. Don't recommend even watching them. Second one, in my opinion, is the best. So that's this one right here, Anarchy. It kind of takes itself as a horror action movie, which I think is the most interesting and the way I think the series should go, because it's the most fun to watch. The Purge, the first one, is kind of sets up the premise really well and is more of like a pure horror movie, which it does pretty good. Definitely The Purge, in my opinion, is one of those movies that has an amazing premise and could be awesome in so many ways, and they can make so many awesome movies out of this. They just fucked it up past this point type thing, which is a shame because I really liked the first one and the second one. Alright, so next is Reservoir Dogs. This, in my opinion, is Quentin Tarantino's most underrated movie. I think this is probably either his best or second best. It's either this or Pulp Fiction. I actually really enjoyed this movie. This follows a bunch of guys who I think committed a bank robbery that went wrong, and it all follows the aftermath of that, of them. There's like one of them that's people think is an informant because that's how the job got leaked, and it's all about them discovering that and all like the fixing all their mishaps and stuff like that throughout the robbery. So that is a really good movie. Definitely recommend that one. Alright, so next is The Revenant. This is a Leonardo DiCaprio movie. I think he plays like a hunter or something like that. I can't remember the full story. I remember it was super long but good. It, in my opinion, is a little too long, but I remember it was pretty good. I honestly, for the life of me, can't remember the movie. I've watched it once. I remember it being good, but I can't remember what it was about. So next is Rings. So this is the remake of the original Ring, which, in my opinion, this is my opinion, as a very unliked opinion, but I think this is better than the original. I enjoyed it more than the original. This is one of the only horror remakes that I actually think the remake was actually better than the original. I just think the extra like special effects and the filming of it definitely amplified like how scary it was. It's not a super scary movie, but it's a pretty good movie and I enjoyed watching it. Alright, so next is Scarface. This is another steelbook I got. This one's pretty clean looking as well. Just says the world is yours, and then it has Scarface. I really like the front of this. This is supposed to be like cocaine type thing. So this is a mafia movie. I think the guy plays a Cuban mafia guy who kind of moves over and starts his own mafia. I forget who this is supposed to be based off of. Somebody I should know, but I'm just mind blanking as I'm watching this, so if anybody knows, let me know. This movie I thought was just too long. I think it's a really good movie. I just think there's a lot of down points that could have been trimmed out of it. That's just my opinion. So next is Shawshank Redemption. This is a really good movie. This is definitely one of the favorites in the movie community that I've seen. It's always on people's like top 10s lists and stuff like that, and I can see why. This movie's amazing. This is one of the more like powerful movies in terms of story that I actually enjoy, because I usually just enjoy fun movies. I don't enjoy like the super sad movies like Green Mile or something like that. I don't find watching sad movies that are powerful to be fun. I just want to watch a fun movie most of the time. But this movie's amazing. The story's really good. Acting's really good. Super interesting throughout the whole movie. It's basically about a prison, if you haven't seen it, and one of the guys, his experience through prison type thing. Next is Shooter. This is a Mark Wahlberg. I think it's one of his first roles in terms of acting, like seriously. This is definitely a really good over-the-top like action movie type thing, and actually has a really good story in terms of like the original setup of the movie and then how they execute it through the movie. He's basically framed for the murder of, or attempted murder of, I guess one of the vice presidents or something like that. And it's basically him on the run and trying to find the people who did it and turn the blame on them instead of him. So next is Shutter Island. This movie is actually really cool. This movie definitely thrives on its atmosphere that it creates. It's definitely a kind of mystery horror-esque movie where Leonardo DiCaprio is this detective that shows up on this island. It's like an insane asylum type of island, and he's trying to figure out like what's going on here and the dark secrets behind it, and the twist at the end's really cool. So next is Snakes on a Plane. This is just a fun, stupid movie. It's not a good movie in terms of like the actual movie part of it. It's just fun. It's just stupid fun. The last half of the movie is definitely better than the first half. I would just, honestly, if you're watching it, skip over the first half to when people start getting killed by snakes, and then go from there. So next is a classic, which is Spaceballs. This movie is awesome. So this is if you don't know anything about Spaceballs, it's basically a comedic take and a parody of Star Wars. So it's basically just makes fun of everything in Star Wars and kind of puts it into like a goofy, over-the-top perspective. Really good. Definitely recommend it. And then followed by that is actual Star Wars. So this is the 6-movie collection. So this comes with the, I guess, technically original 6 now. So this is all the way to Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. Everything released before that. Star Wars movies, amazing movies, one of my favorite series. The ones I would definitely say are my favorite are probably A New Hope. I actually like the first one because it's what I grew up on. So whenever I associate Star Wars, I associate with the first one because I grew up watching that all the time. So it actually, the first one's one of my favorite. And then honestly, the new Solo one was pretty good. And then Empire Strikes Back. Those would be my top 4. So next is Suicide Squad. This is a movie that, again, this is another opinion that most people won't like about me with movies, is I actually didn't mind this movie. It's a stupid superhero movie. If you went into it being like, oh, this is going to be a stupid superhero movie, it does that well. I thought it was pretty good. My favorite thing is, I might be impartial to this movie, a little biased to this movie, because Harley Quinn's one of my favorite characters, period. So I thought Margot Robbie did a really good job with her, and I just enjoyed watching it type thing with Harley Quinn in it. So next is Sword of Vengeance. This is one I bought on a whim and kind of regretted it. it has an interesting premise. It's kind of filmed cool, but it uses so much slow motion and drags the story on. It is such a small, simple story that if they didn't put slow motion in it, would be like a 20-minute movie, but they just drag it on so long. Like, they could have done so much more with the story of this movie, but I think this is one of these balling on a budget type movies in terms of when they made it. So for what it is, it's good, but I wouldn't recommend it. So next is Top Gun. So this is the 30th anniversary edition, which in my opinion is probably the coolest steelbook I got. It has like American flag on it with Tom Cruise with the jets, and then it has them kind of giving the old thumbs up in there. So this is a cult classic, over the top, kind of just cool guy movie. It's like an action, just badass feeling movie. It's all about this Tom Cruise going up through the academy ranks as a pilot in the military, and then going out on his first few missions. It follows the same pool of fighters. So next is Troy. So this is a movie about, I forget what it is. This guy's Achilles, and he's going after the city of Troy. I forget the actual... I think this has actual historical elements to it. I can't remember the exact thing, but all I remember is this movie is actually really good, and the action scenes and the actual story behind why the action is happening is actually really good. All right, so next is Unforgiven. This is definitely one of the better Western movies I've seen. This has Clint Eastwood in it and Morgan Freeman. So they basically play these old, retired like bounty hunters. Or cowboys technically, that go on this like final bounty. I think it's either to help save their family or get money for like medicine and food type thing, and it's all about their final hunt type thing. So it was a really good movie actually. So next is A Walk Among the Tombstones. This is one of the weirdest sleeves because it like completely changes how Liam Neeson actually looks. And like, it's an okay sleeve, but this movie is actually really good. This is just a classic Liam Neeson thriller where he plays like this badass, usually ex-cop who has family related to it usually, and then something happens and he figures out and solves it and looks cool doing it type thing. So this basically follows the same thing. It's about this, I think, a girl who got kidnapped, and it's all about them helping finding who did it and get the girl back, obviously. So next is World War Z. This is an amazing movie. I think I really enjoyed this one. I was getting to the point with all the games and movies and stuff like that about zombies. I was getting tired of zombies, but this movie's awesome, and it definitely revamped, in my opinion, my like for the zombie movies and games. So Brad Pitt basically plays an I think it was a UN soldier or something like that, who gets survives the zombie apocalypse off the beginning, and is basically hired or forced into working for the U.S. government in order to figure out and help develop a cure for the virus. So it's all about that, and it's really cool, and the special effects and all that's really good in that movie. So next is Zombieland. This is a really funny movie. So this is another zombie movie that I think actually works really well. So this is basically a comedic take on the zombie apocalypse genre. So basically Jesse Eisenberg plays kind of a dork, and he runs into Woody Harrelson, and he's kind of like the badass, not super intelligent, shoot first, ask questions later type thing. So they kind of form like this weird alliance, and then Emma Watson... Alright, so next we got Zombieland. So this is basically a comedic take on the zombie apocalypse genre. So basically Jesse Eisenberg plays like his normal like dorky character, and Woody Harrelson plays his normal over the top redneck shoot first ask questions later type character. And then Emma Stone and Abigail Breslin. I'm just reading off the top here for her name. They play another group of survivors that they run into and kind of form a weird alliance with it. And it's all about them working together. Oh, I didn't throw it back. And like growing together, but it's like a comedic take on it as well. So next is Two Guns. This is one of the, I think, the most recent purchase for me, because I watched this movie I think a couple months ago for the first time, and it was awesome. It's definitely one of those like badass just action movies that are fun to watch. Are probably my favorite genre of movies besides like fantasy. And this movie is one of the best in my opinion. It's just super over the top, badass, not a lot of like sappy parts or love stories and stuff like that. It's just action, good story, good twist. I would definitely recommend it. So next is 21 Jump Street. This is a pretty good comedy movie. So it's basically, if you haven't heard about these ones, it's basically about these two guys who go back to high school as undercover cops and try to find the drug chain that's been working there. And it's all about their like mishaps and stuff like that. It's a comedy. Next is 3:10 to Yuma. This is another one I got for like $5 and was surprised with how good it was. It's a cowboy movie, and basically he plays a kind of ex. Oh no. Alright, so next up is 3:10 to Yuma. So this is a cowboy movie, a western movie, and it's about this guy right here is some badass like gangster from back in that time, and this guy is transferring him to jail to get a bounty to help feed his family. So it's all about them forming like a kind of unwary mini alliance to, one, keep him safe because he's being hunted as well, and there's also his group trying to hunt these guys to get him back. So it all mixes that together, and it does it really well actually. Alright, so that's it for my Blu-ray collection. Hope you guys liked the video. Any suggestions on other videos, please leave comments. I try to get back to all comments. And thanks for watching. And just remember, everybody has some nerdiness at their core.